Before we get into what this means for U.S. relations here, I am curious about what this paints. What does this signal to you? Does this signal a form of chaos? Does it seem, what is the sentiment that Israel feels over this? Because you did mention we are in uncharted territory.
No, it feels a bit chaotic, and I think we need to acknowledge that. It doesn't mean that the IDF doesn't have a plan. It doesn't mean that the leadership don't also have plans. I mean, I think we know that the war in Gaza, the objectives are still the same. The war plans for a potential conflagration with Hezbollah on Israel's northern border, I think still largely the same. It's really, I think, a question of having a set of leaders that are trusted by the Israeli people, making decisions in concert, a show of unity. Without that right now, I think it opens up the war it's more susceptible now to politics. Those politics have always been there. Israeli politics are raucous. They are contentious. It's not two parties like here in the United States where it's just one or the other. These are multiple parties that make up a parliamentary majority, and that majority can be toppled quickly. The dynamics change with the introduction of new parties, with people defecting from their old parties. I think these are the sorts of things that we need to watch for right now. I have expected this from the beginning, that the Netanyahu government would not likely hold in perpetuity. That's just not possible in the Israeli system. And what we're watching right now is potentially the unraveling of the government that has held since the war began on October 7th.
And politically, what do you think this does to Netanyahu? Because as we know, Benny Gantz was a more centrist figure, a centrist leader. He has now resigned. Ben-Gvir is even more right of center than Netanyahu. So does this mean that the next phase of this war, perhaps, or the leadership will be more right wing?
You know, it's an interesting question, and at least for right now, I'm not getting the sense that that will be the case. Now, that of course could change, but right now I just don't see it. What Netanyahu has said is that he's going to start engaging with advisors, trusted people that have come out of the system, so former national security advisors, former chiefs of staff, people where he values their opinion, where they have experience in specific matters, where he's looking for advice. And of course, this is still a democratic system, one that is based on consensus. And so, you know, if Netanyahu ended up taking positions that were deemed too right of center, he would hear about it. What we are seeing is that the IDF, which is still in charge of this war, the military that is fighting this war, they continue to engage in best practices militarily. They are very sensitive to the laws of war. Obviously, there's been a lot of scrutiny in recent months about the way that the Israelis have conducted this. It's not going to change any of those rules of engagement. It's not going to change the tactics or very likely the strategies that we see. What I'm really more concerned about right now is whether the prime minister is going to be getting the advice that he needs in terms of victory writ large. This is a long war that's being waged by Iran against Israel. Iran and multiple proxies. We see now 7 fronts where things have turned hot, right? Gaza, West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Iran itself. This is a complicated war, and the prime minister needs help, and he needs help in as many places as he can get it. And without this mechanism, that's my concern. I think we need to hope here that the Israelis find a way of perhaps building some kind of a new mechanism or working some new process out that ensures that the prime minister gets the relevant expertise and advice that is necessary to wage this battle. Because, again, the Iranians and their proxies are active, and they can be rather brutal, as we've seen over these 8 months.